So, to no one's surprise, a brand new Pokemon Presents was announced for Monday, February 27th. We were all kind of expecting something to happen, but of course, a Pokemon Presents is when we get our brand new announcements for new Pokemon games and products and all that type of stuff. So, we definitely have a lot of cool things that we could probably expect going into this presentation. So, I figured in this video we could talk a little bit about some predictions for what we could expect. And I figured it could make it a little bit more fun if I bring in someone else to have a discussion here with and talk with for a little bit. So we've got a special guest who you guys might recognize. We've got Ruffled Rowlet here. What's up, man?
How you doing? What's up?
Yeah, man, it's been a while since we've actually collabed. If you remember, I think the last time I had you on for one of my videos was back with BDSP before that came out. We talked about predictions.
Oh yeah.
That was a long time ago.
It's been a few years now, dude.
Yeah, bro, it's been a long time. It was early 2021. That was with Mudkip Memo and everyone too. It was a long time ago.
Good old days.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, this Pokemon Presents, I'm actually pretty excited for it. I think that there's actually some pretty decent things that could be shown. I don't know how much you've been keeping up with some stuff that was rumored and just stuff that's kind of come out here and there. But I think that there's a good amount of stuff that we could probably expect. So, do you just want to say something and then we could talk about it?
I mean, I've definitely kept up with all the stuff that's been going on in terms of rumors, leaks, all things like that. And there's a lot of possibilities, but also I think we'll be able to narrow down most of it. I don't think we're going to be in for many massive surprises or anything. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a couple of things that are very realistic, and then a couple of things that are very hopes and dreams type of thing,
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, if you got a prediction, you can let me know. We could start talking about something
All right.
that we're expecting. Or
well, I mean, I guess I can start with the most obvious one, which is DLC. That's the guaranteed thing we're gonna see, right? It's the standard, it's the guarantee. It's as predictable as assuming that they're gonna have another thing where they give an update about Cafe Remix. It's as guaranteed as that. And it's as guaranteed as us never hearing about Pokemon Sleep ever again. It's just one of those things. It's guaranteed, in this scenario.
Yeah, so Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. I think that's absolutely a given. We're definitely going to be seeing that for sure. But there's definitely a couple of things about that maybe they could do a little differently. So I wanted to talk real quick about that. I mean, do you think that they're going to do... You remember the Sword and Shield DLC that they had? They had the expansion pass, and then you had two different waves of it, where one came out in the summer and then one came out in the winter. Do you think they're going to do the same thing again?
Yes, I actually speculated about this with a fellow buddy of mine who we just kind of went into what the possibilities could be for the DLC. And I don't know how much you've kept in loop with what the possibilities are for what the DLC is going to be based on and all that, but I actually kind of made a weird prediction that I have a feeling that the DLC might be in 3 waves. And that's a weird prediction, I know, but I just had this weird feeling that they might do it in 3 installments instead of 2 installments like they did with Crown Tundra and Isle of Armor. The reason I say this is because if you actually look at what Paldea is based on, right, the actual region based on the real world location, it's Spain and Portugal, the Iberian Peninsula, right? Now, people really want a Kalos DLC, and there's a lot of hints towards Kalos. Plus, Riddler Koo, who those who do not know, he's a legitimate leaker who's given out legitimate information throughout the last 2 years. He genuinely does give real info, and he's been kind of posting AZ Floette and stuff, which is really weird because he's been trying to hint something with that. And usually,
that Floette hasn't come out for years. The Floette,
exactly, and he seems to be pointing towards it returning in some way or shape. And then of course there is Area Zero, which I feel we haven't explored fully. Right?
That's what everyone's hoping for, is we get some type of expansion on that and learn more more lore about that and stuff too, because it's so ambiguous still.
Exactly, and see, that's the thing. We know there's going to be a 3rd legendary, because it's been already hinted within the books in the game. We've already seen picture of it, or an interpretation of it, right? Yeah, exactly. So we have that, but that's not the only thing though. We also have Paradox, Virizion, and Suicune. Exactly. So we have a lot of hints, that definitely we're going to be doing something with Area Zero again, but we don't know fully, right? We don't have the full explanation. We don't have the full understanding.
And that's what I think is I think one of the waves could be the 3rd legendary and just stuff about that, and then the other wave could be about the Paradox stuff with Virizion and Suicune or something. So
they could do all of it in one, or they can do it spread out. That's why I feel there might be 3 DLC. And I feel if you don't, I don't know if you remember this, and I could be wrong about this, you can correct me on this, but if I remember correctly, if you played Pokemon Sword and Shield, actually, The Crown Tundra was only available once you, I think, finished the game, like the base game. Like you couldn't go to it right after you just started the game. But the Isle of Armor was accessible from the beginning, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right. I'm not sure exactly. I think you're right.
Which if I am correct, that would also make sense in this scenario, because what I would imagine they would also do in the DLC is introduce finally us being able to change our outfits, which is like one of the biggest disappointments with Scarlet Violet.
Yeah,
and I
you're
think
stuck to the school outfits.
the excuse for exactly, and this excuse for it could be that we, and the same way that Isle of Armor is accessible right off as soon as you finish the first like hour of gameplay in Sword and Shield, I'm assuming that the island in, if there is an island DLC in Scarlet Violet, that it will work in the same way, right? You'll be able to access it straight away, and it will work like a kind of summer vacation thing. You know what I mean? Like you'll go there with like pneumonia or whatever. You know what I mean? It'll be like, oh, we're going on summer vacation, so you can wear whatever clothes you want to because you're not in school right now. So I feel like that might be the scenario. Like I could be overthinking this.
I mean, it does make sense though to kind of have like a vacation type of thing, and then have like you be able to put any outfit that you want. That would be a good way to get around that and still have like better customization.
Exactly,
because the whole reason like you were stuck with because the whole reason you were stuck with the school outfits was because they were like, oh, you're attending class, you're still in the school year, so you can't just change into whatever you want. So,
and that's the thing. If they can make it so that the DLC, at least I don't know, definitely the island DLC I would see as being one that would kind of like be accessible at any given point and be kind of like a vacation thingy for you. I don't know about the other like possible DLC, because either is going to be 2 DLC or 3 DLC. Or waves of DLC, so to say. Right. But I don't know how exactly they're going to do it, how many there will be. I feel like
one thing also that somebody mentioned was interesting is that this year is actually the 10-year anniversary of Pokemon X and Y with Kalos, which is pretty cool.
Wow, that is I think that is true actually.
Honestly, if they
2013.
Yeah, so if they were going to do something with Kalos, I think this year would be the best year to do something if they wanted to like honor it.
For sure. In small scale, definitely. Because, we won't be seeing remakes of X and Y until like
I mean, there were people like predicting remakes about like Black and White already. I'm like, bro, you're not going to see that tomorrow. Like you're not going to see that like on the Pokemon Presents. Like we just got BDSP like a year or 2 ago, and those remakes are like spread out. So you're not going to see Black and White remakes until like after Gen 10 probably. So
until Generation 10 is when we're going to see them. Like
and we're probably going to be on like
games come out. So
and we're probably going to be on like a new Switch or a new system by then. So it'll be.
Definitely. I mean, we're already getting hints like to the fact that Nintendo is not releasing enough products to begin with.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, I feel like. Yeah, did you hear about how like they're saying the Zelda game is like apparently going to be like the last like big game for the Switch?
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like after that, they're probably just going to move on to like a new system next year or something. So. I could see that.
I do wonder though if Metroid Prime 4 will ever release on the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are saying that that's going to be like one of those like cross-gen kind of games now, where it'll be on like the new Switch and then also the old Switch at the same time. So, yeah, that'll be crazy to see what happens with Metroid.
Yeah.
In terms of other Pokemon stuff, did you hear about the mystery dungeon game that got leaked on like the website? So I think that's
if you want me, I can explain it like
go ahead.
Because I've been on this like crazy because I'm really excited for the potential here for what the mystery dungeon game could be. Geez, my voice. But either way, so here's what I'm trying to say. For those who do not know, I'll quickly explain it. On the website, there's this website that they launched now for Pokemon Day, specifically called like Pokemon Day Celebrate, something like that. Like basically it's like a hashtag website, where you're basically supposed to just post your hashtags on Twitter and stuff like that, and then you have a chance to be featured during Pokemon Day on that website. Now, what ended up happening is people managed to find that on the source of the code, like on the website, the code of it, they were able to find Spike Chunsoft. And for those who don't know, those are the people behind the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon like franchise. Like they're the people who make all of those. And that is really strange because that wouldn't be there unless there is something coming from them. But also, I want to point this out. This is the thingy that I figured out when I was actually doing a stream recently. And I don't know if you know this, Aero, but the last time we had DLC release, that was in in 2020 when we had the release of Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra. But you know what also released that year? Exactly, Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX or whatever it was called. That released then too, which is really interesting. And guess what? We're having the same time frame now, the same
same situation
time frame for it. Exactly. The DLC releasing and guess what? Mystery dungeon game. Now, what will this mystery dungeon game be? Well, most people, I would assume, would want to see a proper brand new mystery dungeon game, like one that includes all the brand new Pokemon, because we haven't had a mystery dungeon game with all the new Pokemon since, like, I guess Generation 6 almost? Generation 7?
Yeah, they haven't done like Gen 7 Pokemon or Gen 8 Pokemon at all in any of those types of games. So they have a lot of new Pokemon to work with if they have a new mystery dungeon.
It's been a while. It's been a long time, which is exactly why this is the perfect time to make a brand new entry. However, they seem to love remaking games, so I have a much larger suspicion that we might see like Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team, what was the one called again? Like Explorers of Time.
Yeah, if it's like, Explorers of Sky, I know a lot of people will be very happy because that's like regarded. I've never played that one, but I've heard like it has like one of the best Pokemon stories from what people have told me.
Yeah, I think like Explorers of Sky and Explorers of Darkness, I think is the other one. I can't remember. Because
there was
the thing is
there was like a definitive version that came out for it.
Yes, it's Sky. Sky is the definitive version of Time and Darkness. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the definitive version.
Yeah, so everyone told me Sky is the best one to play if you want to.
Yeah. So, because that's what I'm looking at. It says here, it's an enhanced version of Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, and Explorers of Darkness. But you know what the crazy part is? Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness are actually the best-selling Pokemon games in terms of Mystery Dungeon that they've ever had. Those sold for like 4.6 million copies, whereas every other game within this franchise, like the Mystery Dungeon franchise, usually has sold within the like 1 to 3 million range. But these two combined, because they did the double copy thing that they love doing, right? That sold amazingly well. I don't know how like Explorer of Sky did, because of course the third version, you know this as a fan, it always
even main series games, they don't really sell as well.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, what I'm expecting them to probably do is literally just bring us Explorers of Time and Explorers of Darkness remakes. I think that is
honestly, if they do that, I would be willing to play them, because I don't know, have you ever played those games or?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played those particular ones. I only played the original Red Rescue Team. That was like the first one I played. So I already got a remake of that. So I already had that experience. But I really want to see these remade. Like, I really want these, and I have this like weird like hunger for Mystery Dungeon all of a sudden. Like, I'm really excited to play Mystery Dungeon again, which is really weird. But
I've never played it, so I'd love to like experience it for the first time, because I've heard they're pretty like chill, relaxing, and fun games. So
I mean, it will give you a similar vibe to maybe something like a little bit like Fire Emblem, I guess, but not like 100%. Because the gameplay is like so different than regular Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's like randomly generated dungeons. You go in and you're trying to get
and Pokemon like talk to each other and stuff too, right? It's like very
dude, they have personalities and everything. They speak. And
it sounds interesting.
They're their own thing. Oh, it is sick, dude. It is genuinely sick. It's just that the last one we had was a remake of the original game, which is fine. It was great and all, but it would be nice to see a brand new entry.
Yeah, that too. Like if they just announce like a brand new Mystery Dungeon and has like Gen 8 Pokemon, Gen 7 Pokemon, I think a lot of people would be very happy too. So we'll see what they do.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like let's just hope, maybe even if it's a remake, I hope at least that they will add more to that remake. You know what I mean? Like, sure, keep the story and stuff intact, but maybe add more Pokemon to make like things more interesting. Like add in, possibly like the Generation 7 to Generation 9 Pokemon. Because imagine if we could have that like a remake, but they include also the old the new Pokemon.
Yeah, it's just more expansive too, with more Pokemon and stuff. That would be great.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, another thing that I have in terms of spin-offs here, because I don't know if you've heard about this, but on the Creatures Inc. website for Creatures Inc. who help with Pokemon and stuff, there's been like one employee who keeps alluding to Detective Pikachu 2, which we've heard about for like a long time. Actually, this game was announced I think like 4 years ago, that they were working on some sequel for Detective Pikachu on the 3DS that was going to come to the Switch. So I feel like there is a good chance that this year we could finally see that, or maybe it could even come out this year. What do you think about that?
So yes, that is okay. So that's a weird one, because the thing with that game is, it was announced at the same time as Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, right? During the press conference.
I think it was in 2019. I'm looking right now. It says here it was announced on May 10th, 2019, alongside when they announced Pokemon Home and all of that.
Wait, which one? The second game or the movie?
The second game.
Oh, okay. So maybe I'm confusing something. Maybe it was
because the one you're talking about, I think that was when they announced like Pokemon Quest and all of that. Remember?
Yes, it was Quest. Yes, Quest. Because actually, I think Quest came out shortly after that. Like,
Yeah,
the
that was
whole
in
thing.
2018. But 2019
Yes,
was
yes,
like
yes, 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 yes.
Pokemon Sword and
Oh
Shield,
yeah,
and then
that's the
Detective
thing because
Pikachu 2.
they've only done like those press conferences twice or something, 3 times.
Yeah,
maybe?
it was
like,
so
they haven't
random.
done
I
them
don't know.
often.
Yeah,
it's
now they do
weird,
the
but-
presents.
which is much better in my opinion. But
Well, yeah, I
it
like
is
how
what it is.
it's like live streamed, because those press conferences would be just happening in Japan, and we just have to like be like alert on Twitter to like know what's happening. Like,
Yeah, I
so
remember somebody was
yeah.
like just like streaming it on Twitter at one point, which is really weird. It's like, why wouldn't they just do a presents for this?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that
I
didn't
like how
exist
these
at the
ones we
time,
can
so.
actually like watch and see everything
Yeah.
ourselves. So yeah.
Okay, so the thing with Detective Pikachu 2, right, is that because the second movie was canceled, that we know for a fact that they canceled the second movie.
Mhm.
There's a lot of doubt that the second game would even come out because the performance of that first game in terms of sales was actually horrible. Detective Pikachu 1, I think, sold 500,000 copies, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
think I
it
looked
also
into the
came out like
numbers
at the very
recently.
end of like the 3DS's life, so
Yeah.
it was like,
Yeah.
it was like not many people were gonna care about it at that time.
No.
But yeah,
And the issue also with like the game is, I'll be honest, personally, I don't think it's a great game. I think it's.
I
pretty
never played it,
lackluster.
so I wouldn't be able to tell you. Did you
Oh,
play
dude,
it all the
I
way?
played it, and I played it, and I couldn't finish it. It was just
Oh.
pure too boring for me
I
personally.
see.
Again, I maybe I'm being a douche, but I just personally did not enjoy it. I did not find the fun in it. Like, I get some people do see the appeal in it and whatnot, but it doesn't really matter what I think. What I will say though is that yes, there is an employee that has in an interview said that they're still working on it, and the reason that it's taking so long is because they're trying to make sure that the game has the best possible graphics that they could do for it. Which also makes sense because the people making it would be Creatures, and the thing that those who do not know, by the way, Creatures is the company that does all the 3D work. Okay, all the
Mhm.
3D work for Pokemon. So everything within Pokemon that has to do with 3D is made by Creatures. If you're thinking about the models, it's Creatures. If you're thinking about the TCG 3D art, they do all that. So all the card stuff you know about Pokemon, they're the ones who design all the cards. You know, they do all the work over there for that stuff. You
Yeah,
know
and
what I mean?
honestly,
They
I'd
make everything.
argue even like a Detective Pikachu on the 3DS when it came out, like graphically, it looked really good. Like I would say,
Yes,
in
yes,
terms
it
of
was
just-
superior to X and Y. I would argue in terms of graphics and even probably Sun and Moon. Like, it
Yeah,
just
I think
looked
it's
good,
definitely
you know,
one of the
for
better
Pokemon.
looking games. So I'd imagine now with the Switch and having HD, they really want to try to make it look as good as possible.
Oh, for sure. The only thing though is that Detective Pikachu as a I guess a franchise on its own, it's just not that interesting to people. I would assume. I feel like, you know, the movie did well because it was the first live action Pokemon movie. So of course
Yeah,
that
and
was
people
gonna
just
do well,
watched
and
it
I mean,
for yeah.
the novelty value, right? Like,
Exactly.
The story wasn't anything mind blowing. It was
I
fun,
agree.
you know, but it's like, you know, you've seen it once, you don't really need to go see it again. You know what I mean? It was
Mhm.
just once was enough. But the thing though is with the game is that it just doesn't have that massive an audience. So I'm really surprised they're still like planning on making it. And I guess they've been working on it long enough that it's worth it to release it again.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I'd
don't know, we'll
imagine
see.
like since they announced it, they probably haven't abandoned it because they haven't like made any announcement telling us like, you know, don't expect it anymore or anything like that. So I'm sure it's still coming.
Yeah, for sure. It's
yeah.
definitely still happening. Is it happening on this Presents though?
We don't
That
know. Yeah,
is
maybe.
That's a big question.
Yeah.
Maybe it's possible. You never know.
Yeah.
But like, we'll see though. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Speaking of stuff that's been abandoned, though, Pokemon Sleep, something else we haven't heard about
Oh,
since
my
like
lord.
2019. Do you think this could be shown in any way at all in this Presents? Do you think we're finally going to see it?
So to explain Pokemon Sleep, like real quick, the thing is, people expect Pokemon Sleep to be something that it's not meant to be. Which is like, would you assume Pokemon Sleep would be, Aero? Like, what would you assume it to be?
Well, I thought they said it's like a sleep tracker type of thing to help you sleep better.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something, right?
So this is something I only learned recently, thanks to my friend Cam Tendo, because he specifically pointed out that in Japan, it's a very popular thing to have like kind of sleep monitors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like monitors to just keep track of stuff. It's very popular in Japan. It's very common over there. So I feel like people have this idea of like Pokemon Sleep being this weird game about like, you know,
Oh,
I guess like capturing Pokemon in your sleep, whereas what it most likely is just a
it's just going to tell
monitoring,
you how
like,
well you
know,
slept. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like, you know, did you make
Yeah.
a lot of noise, blah, 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 etc. I don't expect it to be, you know, anything more than that. And I feel like it's become just a meme, you know, to talk about it. But,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I don't know. Like, I think if you're expecting like a video game out of it, you're going to be like heavily disappointed when they finally show it.
Oh, for sure, dude. So
yeah, because
in terms of
it's literally
sleep,
it's just gonna be
you
like
know,
some sleeper tracker that'll tell you like, oh, this is how much. Because like I have like a watch like that when I go to sleep at night. Like when I wake up in the morning, it'll tell me like, oh, here's how good your deep sleep was and how good your like your all of that, and like it'll just give you like a little graph to tell you that. It's probably gonna be like that.
Exactly. Yeah, something along those lines is most likely what Pokemon Sleep was supposed to be. I mean, literally, you already have an example of what Pokemon Sleep would be like with Pokemon Smile, right? If you remember that whole thing, which was like
the toothbrush
to encourage children to encourage children to go like brush their teeth. So like that's just an example of basically what you could expect with that. It's just like one of those side apps that they create, that's just there. It's not something that legitimately is anything massive or important. It's just whatever. It's going to be a sleep app most likely / sleep monitor for most likely more so Japan than the rest of us, and it doesn't really matter in the grand scale of things. I just think it's because of the meme and because of
it's just so funny because like you always see people talking about you always just see people saying like, oh man, I guess the app is so good that they fell asleep on it or something, like people always joking about it. But all right, so in terms of other like realistic predictions that I have here, I only have one more left here, and that is something that I'm actually personally really hoping happens, and I think it's pretty likely, is that if you saw the last Nintendo Direct, in one of the announcements, they announced that Virtual Console, like in terms of like Switch Online, is now going to be having Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games. And of course, this opens up the possibility for like Pokemon Red and Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver, Emerald, Ruby, Sapphire, lots of those types of Pokemon games to come. Do you think that they are like saving that to come to the Switch Online at some point? Because I think it's pretty possible, and I think the reason why we didn't see it in that Nintendo Direct, because I remember when I was watching them show all the Game Boy games, I was like, okay, now show me Pokemon Emerald, and they didn't do that, and I was like, maybe it's because they're saving it for like the actual Pokemon Presents to be able to show that.
I had the same thought process. I have the exact same thought process, but the thing though is, I'm not sure if it's going to show up on Nintendo Switch Online as a part of like that package, like with
it could just be separately.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm a little bit torn on whether it's going to be a separate thing or it's going to be a part of like Nintendo Switch Online.
I mean, it could be both too. They could just say like if you have Switch Online, you get it for free, and then if you want to buy it separately, you can pay like $5 or whatever and get it too.
Yeah. I mean, they could also call it like didn't they also do for Nintendo Switch Online like expansion passes for it as well? So like they could do something like that. Like, hey, if you have Nintendo Switch Online, you can get like generation 1, 2, 1 and 2. But if you want access to like the
GBA.
third generation, you need to get like the expansion or something like that.
Yeah, that's probably how they would do it.
They could do that. Or the other option, of course, is they could just release it as an individual, like separate like collection or something, or individual downloads.
Like $15 and you get all 3 generations or something.
Exactly, yeah. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it is Pokemon, so like it's gonna sell no matter what.
Exactly. I mean, there's also a lot of people. There's just a lot of people out there who've never even played these games. It makes me feel old as hell though when I see like people in the comments saying like, "Oh, I wasn't even born when Pokemon Emerald came out." I'm like, Jesus, bro. Like, but yeah, there's people who have never played these games, so I feel like if they absolutely give you the opportunity to play them now on Switch, there's gonna be so many people who will buy them just to see what they were like.
Exactly. Just the Pokemon name is going to be worth it. Like, even people who've never heard of Ruby, Sapphire, etc., which I think most Pokemon fans have heard of, but like there are people who genuinely are new into Pokemon and don't know it.
Yeah, they started with like Sun and Moon or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. I've seen tons of people who've told me like, oh, my first Pokemon game was Sword and Shield. And I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
How could that be your first game, dude? But that's like, you got to realize, right? Like, of course, it's easy for us to say that because we grew up, with those original games and stuff. And, we're a bit older now. Except there are a lot of new people that come into the Pokemon franchise, and their first introduction might have been Pokemon Go, and then they've never really tried any of the stuff.
That's where like a majority of their consumers are nowadays, which is crazy. But.
Yep, it is nuts actually if you think about it. But that's the thing, though. I think that it's a perfect thing. I want it. Of course, it is just a re-release, and I can easily, like, no questions about it. I can just go and download the ROM and play it on my computer.
Emulators exist and stuff.
Exactly. But the unfortunate truth is, I would prefer it if I could just play it on the console. It would just be nice to have that, feeling of playing it on an actual console than having to use my keyboard.
Yeah, just having an official way to access them is what we've kind of been asking Nintendo to do for the longest time for all of their
because it doesn't cost them anything. It literally doesn't cost them anything. You just have to have like two developers maximum to just sit down and do it, because it already is possible to run all those games on the Switch.
Yep.
People
We've already seen it
I
with
have
like
a modded-
homebrew and stuff. Like people
Dude,
hacked
I have
their
a modded
Switch.
Switch. I have a modded Switch. I have a GBA emulator on there. I can run
Exactly.
the games, of course. But I would prefer it if I could have it on my non-hacked
Official
Switch,
one. Yeah.
officially paid for, so I can just.
It's just free
properly
money
play
too.
it.
Like you're going to be getting so much free money from people. There's no reason why you shouldn't do it, but yeah.
Yeah, and that's not the only thing as well. You got to remember that the original games, if you want to play them officially, there is like no good way to do it. Like original copies of any of those games, like original copies that are legit copies, are ridiculously expensive. If you want to get like Heart Gold Soul Silver, dude, like I know that's not like GBA or whatever, but like Heart Gold Soul Silver is like $200.
Yeah, dude,
like,
I saw it, and like that money isn't even going to Nintendo if you buy it too. It'll go to the eBay seller or whoever you buy it from. So.
Exactly. Just scalpers or whatever, you know.
Exactly.
So, like,
yeah.
It's like they go for ridiculous prices. It would be nice to have a way to revisit those games because they already did this once. They already did this with the eShop back on the 3DS, right? We got the virtual consoles of
they had GBA,
and,
I think, or they had red and blue, I think, on there, and yellow.
Yes, and gold, silver, crystal, I think as well. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, those came out after, I think, like a year later or something.
So that's the thing. They've done that, and I think those sold like I think even the re-releases sold like 1 million copies. You know what I mean? Which is like that in my head is enough proof that like, yo, there's 1 million people that were willing to rebuy red and freaking blue, which they can legitimately play free. It takes them like a minute. You can even do it on your phone for free. Like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There are websites where you can emulate the game on a website. Like you can play it for free, but still 1 million people took out their credit card and paid for it. Exactly.
Yep.
So imagine if they do a collection and they're like, here, $15, you get like the first 3 generations. Bada beam, bada boom. Because those 3 generations are also becoming the hardest ones to transfer Pokemon from, if you think about it, right? Like, as they're shutting down parts of like, parts of these like games, like for example, how the eShop is now going away on the
you're
3DS, right? And stuff like that. Like it's gonna become harder and harder as time goes on, right? To retain some of those old Pokemon. You're not gonna be able to keep them anymore. And I don't know, like for now, Pokemon Bank is still around. But if the eShop is going down, and let's say you haven't downloaded Pokemon Bank, right? What do you do then? Because if the eShop is down, I'm assuming you wouldn't even be able to download like anything off of there.
Do you remember how when Virtual Console came out for the 3DS, they actually did something really cool, which was you could actually take Pokemon that you caught in like the original Pokemon Red and Blue, and then transfer them into Bank, and then bring them into Sun and Moon.
Yep. See, but that's the thing, though. It's like, imagine if, like, for now, Bank is still working, but imagine over time that will probably be shut down too.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it would be so cool if they could do that, where like they bring those to the Switch, and then you could do that into Scarlet and Violet. You could bring Pokemon over.
Exactly.
And stuff
That's what I would be hoping for, right? Is that with the introduction of that collection of games on the Switch, that you'd be able to just send from that game into home, and then from home.
And then I think they're absolutely going to do that if they do decide to put those games. It makes
100%. If they're re-releasing the games, 100% they're doing that. Like 1,000% they're doing that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, but in terms of that, I mean, I think the last thing here is just a couple of like hopes and dreams types of things. If you want to talk for like a couple minutes about that, because stuff that's very unlikely, but you'd be very happy if it did get shown.
Yeah.
So for me, it will always be like a Poke Park game. The original Poke Parks on the Wii when they came out were some of my favorite Pokemon spin-offs. If they ever announced a Poke Park 3 or something, I'd be very happy. XD Gale of Darkness or Coliseum like remake, remaster type of thing, I'd be very happy. But what about you? What was something like you would love to see?
So I would love to see, I guess, 3 specific things. Very specific. I would love to see XD Gale of Darkness, like a remake, a remaster, whatever, of Gale of Darkness. I would love to see another Pokken.
True. I've seen a couple people actually asking for that too.
Yeah, dude, like why not? Like if they can bring Pokken back, but like I don't know, like if they can maybe simplify it in a way, if you know what I mean.
Well,
like,
I heard the issue was like I heard the issue was it wasn't made like properly to the point where like only a couple Pokemon were good, and like if you like knew the techniques and stuff, it would be very easy to kind of cheese it. So like you couldn't actually use it like competitively in tournaments and stuff.
That's where I feel like they should. That's where I feel like they should just get in touch with Sakurai. Just get in touch with the man. Let him handle it. Like for real. Like I feel like I played a better version of that. That somebody made just online, like a random person made like before Pokemon even came out. Like like somebody made like a fighting Pokemon game that was really solid. The style was sick. Like you know what style of like game I would like if they were to do another Pokemon. I wouldn't want it to be that 3D style like that. Instead, have you ever played like Dragon Ball Fighter Z?
Yeah, I've seen that game.
Or
like
like Blaze Blue. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that kind of like anime style look, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I would want them to do. If they can do
It
something
would look
like
really
that,
sick
that would
too,
be
like
sick.
with all the flashy colors and effects and
Oh,
everything.
dude, hell yeah, dude! Like that would be so cool. And
Yeah.
if they could like actually introduce that, but keep it alive, like keep it alive with like nonstop updates, because that's the thing with Pokken is they would release like one expansion pass
And then nothing
with
ever
like
again.
2 or 3 new Pokemon or something, right? There was barely anything in there. It's like, really? Like 3 Pokemon, really? That's it. That's all you're going to introduce. There's like nothing else. Like out of like 1,000 now existing Pokemon, you chose 3.
And
Like,
the
that's
roster's
ridiculous.
already
Like,
like
you know?
really small in that game, I'm pretty sure, right? How many Pokemon are
Yeah,
in there?
tiny roster.
Pokemon
See, that's the thing.
DX.
That's why like something like Pokemon Unite stays alive is because there is a ranked mode, so people have a reason to come back every season when the ranks reset. So there's that. Then there's the fact that there's always like every month or so there's like new like stuff introduced, new events, new Pokemon added to change up the meta. And that's the thing. Like if you want to keep a game alive, this is the same issue I have with Pokemon like the base games, and why I think VGC is so boring is because there is no variety, dude. There's no variety whatsoever.
Well, that at
in
least will
terms of, like,
change
what
when
the
they
game
announce
is out.
the Scarlet and Violet DLC, which will add like probably
It
a
will,
couple
but
more
that's the
Pokemon.
thing, though. If we compare it to every other game that kind of exists, most regular games, like that kind of are like trying to survive on a long term, tend to release a patch or update or changes or additions to the game every 1 to 2 to 3 months, right? We have to wait on average a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's a long time with like the exact same meta, exact same stuff. Like that's why I've said like I would love it for VGC or just for competitive in Pokemon and Wi-Fi battling if they added like a bunch of different modes where it was limited to what Pokemon you could use, right? So like you'd be literally like certain Pokemon would just be straight up like banned. You'd have like certain modes where you could only like like a random battle mode, right? Instead of like rental teams, it would just be literally a random team of Pokemon that you would
Bro, that would be
you
so
wouldn't know
sick.
what
Like
the hell you
if they
have.
could do like what they have on like Showdown, where it's just like random.
Exactly, precisely.
But-
like,
but,
literally
like,
take what
it-
Showdown has and put it in Pokemon.
And just take like different rental teams that already exist, so that way you can just get like people's random teams and stuff. So it's not even like one team is like extremely better than somebody else's random team.
Exactly. Yep.
But that would be so much
that's the
fun.
thing. If they could just do something like that, it would actually make it more interesting. And this kind of leads me back to like Pokken and the problem with it, which is it just didn't have enough content flow to keep it going. Like even Smash has much more of a content flow than that.
Yeah, I mean that's
and
a
Smash
huge
is
ass
generally-
roster. Yeah,
That's the thing. It's a massive roster. But even like in Smash, if you think about it, how often new characters were released, there was a lot of time between them, right? Back like before if we go back in time. It did take a bit of time between each like release having
but it's still like one character like every few months or so.
Exactly, but that's the thing. It's unfortunately Pokken didn't have that kind of support, which I get because the sales on that game weren't.
Yeah,
that
they probably just
amazing.
didn't feel like it was worth investing in.
No, but that's the thing though. It's like if they can just if they can just simplify it and not have that like super overdone 3D style, which looks cool and all. Okay, don't get me wrong, it looks sick. But
Yeah.
it does also probably take up more time to get that done. Plus, when it's in a 3D environment, there's a lot more stuff you have to take into account with like the play, the gameplay. And
It's
stuff.
also more
If it's just in a
complicated to
2D
develop. Yeah.
Exactly. If it's just in 2D, I feel like it's easier to like get it sorted. But either way, so Pokken is the second one I think would be really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess third one is Pokemon Rangers. I really think it'd be cool
yeah.
to see Pokemon Rangers return, dude. Because like the problem is I don't see the likeliness of them doing it, right? But
There
Pokemon
were how
Rangers
many
is
Pokemon Ranger games already? 2?
3. I think 3.
Three, oh.
Two or
Okay.
3. I could be wrong. I think one might be like an expansion deals type of thing. I don't know. I don't
Okay.
remember. I think there were
I remember like
3.
there's one
I
with
could
like
be wrong.
Lucario. I remember seeing the box art of that one, and then there's like a one with like Charizard on it. I remember those 2. I don't know if there was a third one.
I
There was
don't
like
remember either now. I
Pokemon
feel like
Ranger.
there's-
It was like called just Pokemon Ranger, and then there was like one called like Shadows of Almia or something.
Yeah,
I remember those
that's
2.
Okay, so yeah, I'm trying to look it up real quick. Pokemon Ranger. So yeah, you had. Let me see what it says here. Pokemon Rangers. Where is the games? I'm trying to find them real quick just to see like which ones there were.
Oh, you're right. There's
Yeah,
3 of them.
Yeah, there's 3 of them.
I
I
just
thought
found them.
so.
Yeah, there's Pokemon Ranger, there's Shadows of Almia, and then there's Guardian Signs. I've never heard of the third one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, so that's the thing. It's like I would love to see Rangers return.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I think that like that franchise on its own is kind of dead. I do feel like that might be the case there.
I mean,
do think
you never know. I mean, they said Pokemon Snap was dead, and somehow we got a new one. So
that is true. That is true. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing that has me a little bit like all over the place with this whole thing. Like that's what kind of has me like a little, you know,
You never truly know.
Like, exactly. I'm a little cautious with this whole thing. You know what I mean? Because I keep thinking to myself, like we expected, like, let's be real. We all expected that back in like 2021, we were going to get beat, like, you know, we were going to get Diamond and Pearl remakes. We all expected it, right? But not a single one of us expected to get BDSP and a freaking, like,
entire new
semi-open world, brand new type of Pokemon game that we never seen before with Legends Arceus. Like, nobody expected that, dude. And that they were released with literally a month and a half between each other. Like that, like, think about how crazy that is, Aero.
Yeah,
think about that,
for
dude.
real.
Like, I know we forget about it now because it's in the past now, but seriously, think about how crazy that was compared to what we're used to. Like, normally, that shit doesn't happen. Normally, we get one game in the year, maybe a spin-off, and that's about it, right? But they dropped that nuke on us, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And also in that same year, I don't know what, there was something else. There was definitely a spin-off or two that released in that same exact year, but I cannot remember at this point.
It was new Pokemon Snap.
Was it?
No,
it was new. Okay, it was new Snap. Was it? I think it might.
Well, new Snap was in the same year as BDSP. Yeah, it was in like May. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so it was in the same year. So they basically dropped new Pokemon. So they announced new Snap, BDSP. I think Snap might have been announced a bit later. I could be wrong.
It was announced before, I think.
Matter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So you've got Snap, you've got BDSP and Legends at the beginning of the year after that. Like that's a lot of shit. So and Snap, again, like you said, was kind of a dead franchise. Nobody expected to see Snap returning, like
from the N64. Like who would have thought? Yeah.
Exactly. So just to begin with that, okay, just starting with that as an example, think about the possibilities. We could see on this direct, for sure, we're going to see Mystery Dungeon. Something Mystery Dungeon I feel like is guaranteed. DLC is also guaranteed. A collection of old school games, I think, has a high possibility, given that we saw
it's pretty
the
likely,
GBA
I would say.
And all that. Yeah. But who knows
I forgot to
what else they
mention.
might have.
I forgot to mention. Did you see the little like teaser video they tweeted about the Pokemon Presents when
yes, and it featured the Gen 1 Pokemon.
Gen 1 music and Gen 1 Pokemon. I feel like that's got to be alluding to something with Gen 1, maybe.
Oh, for sure. It wouldn't be
so
surprised.
If they do that and then have, because they played the original Red and Blue music too. So if they have that and then announcing Gen 1 coming to Switch, makes a lot of sense. I feel.
Yep.
But yeah.
I could definitely see that being the case. Yep. 100%. So yeah, and they could do, like, you know, they could do it in waves. They can start with, like, you know, with like Red and Blue, and then they can be like, oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And,
I feel like that's definitely the reason, because like think about it. If they announce like Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, nobody's really gonna play Ruby and Sapphire because Emerald's like better, you know. So yeah, I feel like they probably be like, oh, here's Ruby and Sapphire for a little bit, and then be like, oh, here's Emerald now. I think that's probably what they'll do.
Yep, exactly. Like kind of like, you know, drag it out for a bit.
Yep,
just drag
exactly.
It out. Like, keep people
I don't think they're gonna put all of those games. They'll probably say like, oh, and updates coming in the future will allow you to play Gen 3 also, and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess for now, I mean, we just, you know, that's pretty much what I can think of. I don't really know much else they could be. You know, like maybe they could do a remaster of Gale of Darkness, Coliseum, and even Stadium or something.
That would be sick. I'd be very happy.
You know, that would be cool. But again, we'll have to wait and see, right?
Yep. But yeah, man, damn, we talked for like 40 minutes. I was expecting like a 10-minute video, and we talked for like 4 times that amount. I don't know how many people are actually going to watch this whole video all the way through, but it should be nice if you kind of just tabbed out and listened to it while doing stuff. It was like a nice like podcasty type of video, but yeah, I mean, either way, I'm looking forward to this Pokemon Presents. I think there is some good stuff that we can expect to see for sure. I mean, there's definitely going to be DLC for like Scarlet and Violet, which will be pretty exciting, but just in general, there's a possibility for some like cool surprise announcement type of things to be there too. So should be pretty good. I mean, it's only in a couple days. I'll probably be streaming it over on Twitch if you guys ever want to come and watch with me over there. But yeah, I mean, if you're down Ruffled, we could stream it too.
Oh, for sure, dude. 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely down if you want to like talk and watch it, because that should be pretty fun.
Always.
But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely be sure to click that like button. Also subscribe to the channel, as I am going to be having more Pokemon videos and Nintendo content and all that good stuff coming out very soon. Comment your predictions down below too. Let me know what you guys think could be shown in the Pokemon Presents. What are some of like your hopes and wishes, and what are some things that you think are just pretty likely to be shown? Go ahead and join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff as well. And where can people find you at, Ruffled?
Well, they can find me on Ruffle Rowlet or Pokey Forward on YouTube.
Awesome. And he's also got this new channel with like Ruffled Rowlet Plays, where he does like a lot of cool challenge runs. You guys should definitely go and check out that as well. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on here, bro. I really appreciated
Thank you for having
talking
me.
Yeah, no problem, man. We definitely got to do more of these types of videos because I enjoy them too.
For sure, dude.
All right, cool. Well, then that's pretty much it, guys. We will catch you guys all very soon. And hopefully we have a really good Pokemon Presents. All right, peace.
Bye-bye.